What's good, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? JDaisy here with the JDaisy Gaming Channel. Here doing a little different style of video with editing and the way we are processing it. This is pre-recorded footage I have from the game. This is different than what I normally do. I normally do the videos while in game, so you know all that stuff kind of happens. But this time I thought I'd try a different format and actually try editing the videos better, making more content that way. But I wanted to give you a heads up so you can tell me what you guys think of it. But the game we're going to be dealing with today is Battlefield 1, and if you are like me, everyone else has already reviewed it and played it and looked at it, but you know that's the game that I have put in the most hours other than Farming Simulator this last month, and I like to have a video come out every week, so that's what we're going to deal with right now. So the good thing about the way we're editing is that I can have, I don't have to record this all in one setting. We can actually do little bits and pieces, so it should be better. But at the end of the video, please put down in the comments box what you guys think of it, if you like it. And if not, if you want me to go back to the original way we were doing it, where the video was in-game, that'd be great too. I am open for what you guys like or what you would rather see. So let's just get down into this. This is a AAA game, and with that, I think the bar gets set higher than normal. As opposed to an indie game I may look at, or a game that has a lot shorter building time. Battlefield 1 had all the money in the world, it had all the time in the world, and had the best people on it. So the bar for this game is very high, as opposed to something like No Man's Sky, which I consider lower because it was like an 11-person team. This has thousands of people working on it. And I think, personally, that they met that bar. But that is not a surprise coming from DICE and EA. Arguably the most powerful people to put out games, they always seem to make that bar. The things that they do really, really, really well, stereotypical of them, you have the story is something amazing. I've never played a game recently for a single-person shooter that has had such a powerful story and so well told. There's nothing in it that's over blanketing, softening everything, or just running over it. Visually, it is just stunning, but that is to be expected. I'm not overly surprised by that. If it would have came out with, horrible textures or something, that would be a surprise. So that kind of gets thrown away as a good thing, along with the sound. The sound is amazingly done, amazingly done. But once again, that's just typical of what they should be doing. They have a huge force at their disposal. They should be able to meet these standards. As far as the actual combat in the multiplayer, I was a big fan of how the large scale feels controlled chaos, and by that I mean if you're playing the operations, which is their new this is their mode that they're really promoting this year for this game, it is so large scale and you're pushing and there's vehicles going around everywhere, but there's still a concentration. Whether you be on that attacking force, there's almost like a line that is being pushed, and if you're on the defense force, there's a line being held, and that is something I really, really like. That's always something I think a lot of games lack. First-person shooters aren't my typical thing, but there's always never been that line, I don't think. And all the other ones, Hardline and 4 that I played, and Bad Company and stuff, there's never been that defined line. Like, this is behind enemy lines. And I think this game does that really, really well. Of course, you have planes flying overhead, and I don't do planes. I suck at them, so don't even ask. You have vehicles trying to push through, but they're getting hit by artillery guns. And then, you get reinforced by the Dreadnought, or the train, or the Zeppelin. I love the Zeppelin with a very, very hard passion. So I think the large scale is where it definitely shines. Not so much on the small scale, and I'll get into that, but still on the large scale. And what I really do also like about the large scale is how each individual map has where it turns into small scale. On one map, you get condensed into a tunnel. That is very small scale. On the other, you have a village that everyone just funnels into. That's small scale. But then you have a giant desert in between two villages. Now that's giant large scale, where you have snipers and mortars going off everywhere. And I just think that is a very amazing thing, because I only play on 64-player servers. I've never played on anything lower, because I think if you're going to play on that large scale, you need that many people to make it to appreciate it, I think, is the best word to put it. Aside from that, the the lower knots operations, the other ones I do like, but I don't play them as much. But there is a reason I play them. But before we move on to that, I just want to say one more time that the story, I think, is definitely where this game blew people out of the water. People normally kind of put off first-person shooter story modes because nobody invests in story modes for single-person shooters anymore. I don't think any developer or any publisher, that's where they put their money, because that's not what people really buy games for anymore. You run around and go pew 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 with your friends and kill them. I think that the idea of a single-person shooter game has gone out the window and has switched. And I personally don't think that's for the better. I was, Medal of Honor and stuff, the first ones I remember playing as a child, those were all focused on single-person shooting. The multiplayer, if it even had any, was like a side note, a gimmick, a thing that you could do. And over the years, you have dramatically seen that shift. Examples like Call of Duty and Titanfall, the first one, not the second one, really per se, has kind of gone away from that single person to a more multiplayer focused game, because that's where the money is. That is where they can devote more time and money, because you can keep updating that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just the way the industry has moved. But to see the biggest name, DICE and EA, to go, no, we're going to put this much time and effort into it, and we're going to do it right. This isn't just a gimmick. This is something that is important. And you can tell that by the way they have the level design in these. And granted, I'm not all the way through the story mode, so for full disclosure. But the few that I have played, I'm about the third one in, it is very evident that they wanted this to be the focus as much as the multiplayer. Not saying one or the other, but I think they both are 50-50 split. Especially when you launch the game and it opens right into that single-player opening. I think that says a lot right away. That is just flopping it out on the table and saying, look, this is what we put time and effort into. Please experience it. You can play just the multiplayer and have a great experience, or you can play the single player and have an equally great experience. Granted, the single player does look a little short from what I'm seeing in the distance, because I'm not all the way through, and from reports I've heard coming in, it's not the longest, but still the fact that they put that out. For a game that is $60, granted it's going to be more with EA and all that, but for an opening cost, I don't think there's a game that I can think of off the top of my head that meets that requirement of $60, you get $60 worth of thing. I think this definitely is $60, I get $60 worth of thing. I would even go as far to say I have $60 of multiplayer content and I have $60 of single player content. Maybe not $60 of single player content, depending on how you value it. Maybe like $30 would probably be the typical on the street person saying. But still, the fact that they put that much time and effort is definitely evident, and I really find that a refreshing look. But with every good side, there is a bad side, and that's kind of one of the staples of this channel, is no game or no anything goes without having both its good and bad. Even this game that I just spoke very highly about has definitely some drawbacks. And I think that kind of comes in the smaller scale areas of the single player. Or not the single player, the multiplayer, I apologize. There's only 4 operations other than operations. Let me rephrase that. There's only 4 modes other than operations that you can play, if I remember right. Domination, Capture the Flag, War Pigeons, and Deathmatch. That is a very limited choice. I normally play War Pigeon because it's kind of fun, it's kind of different, it's kind of neat. But it normally turns into just a funneling match, and some people really like that, and I can see the appeal of it. It's kind of chaotic, it's kind of crazy, there's guns going off, there's a flamethrower, there's a gas grenade everywhere. That's cool, that's really good for the first couple times. But when every map turns into that, it can get a little repetitive, it can get a little stale. I'm not sure what I would do to change that. Maybe something slightly medium scale, slightly larger scale. Not saying as big as operations, because that is kind of going to be their big one. But I just think they're lacking a medium scale. About the only thing I can think of is like Capture the Point. That can get kind of larger scale, but not to the point where it can compete with operations. Maybe if in a perfect world they'd have kind of 2 different things, like a Capture the Point, but on a really large scale as the operations with tanks and everything. That would be really neat to see. And granted, it is kind of there, but it's only on a few maps, I think, personally. Maybe I'm different, you can always let me know. Another thing I really wasn't that big keen on is that you can only customize your loadout and your weapons inside a match. The reason I don't like this is because I like to read all the guns and I like to see what I have available. And if you're in a match, you really just want to get into that match if you have a slower internet connection, or you don't have a lot of time to spend, and that's when often I play those quick little matches, because the operations take forever. They take forever, and I think that's kind of a drawback of wanting to play that operation. I think that's why it's so important to have a quicker little matches that you can just jump in and play. So the fact that they only have this operations that is large scale and takes forever, well, I want to play on a smaller scale, but I don't want to, waste my time building my custom loadout for, this class or that class. It gets a little annoying that that's the only place you can do it, is customizing in the match. And while we're on that, this might just be me being the gun nut I am, but those options are very limited. For what your different guns are going to do. They have like the better versions of the gun you use, but there's only a handful of different options available to those units. And I think that's kind of something that we are used to from Battlefield 4 and Hardline, having a plethora of guns available. So the fact that there's only a few, I want to say it's a bad thing, but at the same time I don't, because the next thing I'm about to say is kind of contradictory to that. And what I'm about to say is the fact that I thought a cool mode for this game especially, would be a similar to Operation, so pushing and defending, but make everyone have the exact same weapons loadout. And by that I mean trying to give a more realistic version of what the war would have been. The war, the military supplies you with your weapons, unless you're like a band of rebels or something where you're just getting mishmash weapons. The military supplies everyone with whatever gun that is, whether that be an M1 Garand or a Mosin if you're on that side, a Lee Enfield. Everyone gets supplied with that. I think in a game like this, where you're trying to take a more realistic approach to things, that would be a very refreshing thing to see. And it would be more of a thing of, my team is stereotypically better than yours. Stereotypically might not have been the word I wanted to use there, but you understand what I'm saying. My team is better than your team, and it's not because we have better guns. It's not because we have better sniper rifles, because we put in 2,000 hours into this game into the first week. It is, I am better than you because I am better skilled. I am more skilled at this game. And I think that would be a lot more refreshing instead of coming around the corner and someone like me that is a very casual player and just getting mowed down by somebody that has a gun that I will never get to because they've pumped in so many hours. That is very disheartening, I think, for a lot of people when they don't have that much time to put into this game. The average consumer works all the time. So if you're working and you don't have time to play the game, you don't have time to pump into the hours, so then you just get mowed down, so then you don't want to play the game. It's a vicious cycle that I think is very kind of ignored right now, but I think there would be easier fixes. And granted, you can level up and you can do that, but it's just a grinding, playing a few minutes here and there. And on top of that, it takes a long time to level up, I feel personally. I've been playing on and off, and I'm finding it very hard to level up or get more war bonds to buy better things. So I think the fact that it takes so long, it definitely kind of takes away from the whole experience, and that just might be me not putting in as much time and stuff coming off this month line I've been working, so I haven't had that much time to devote to it. What are you guys' opinion? Do you feel that you are leveling up at a steady pace to keep you entertained, and that the idea of everyone or a match being level field is very not entertaining to you, because then it just wouldn't be fun? I want to hear your personal opinion, because that's just something that pops into my head. That's an idea of something that could be pushed forward. I'm not saying that would be the fix-all, bandage-all update that would do it, but if they're going to be releasing all these updates and DLCs and everything, that would be kind of a neat update to do. Not necessarily as a DLC, because I wouldn't pay for that, but I think that would be a really cool idea to keep the game kind of hot and kind of fresh and kind of neat, which they're going to be doing over the next course of a year, 2 years, that's like constantly what they're going to be doing, is updating it and putting out DLCs and trying to keep that fan base coming. Well, if you keep putting out DLCs and I'm so far behind, I'm not going to want to play, because why play if I'm so far behind? And then you fall into the typical thing, well, you can buy this battle pack to get better weapons, and now it's just become a play to win game. and that is not what Battlefield has ever been. And I really would hate to see that's where a big name company like DICE and EA take their franchise down that rabbit hole, even when people would argue they already go there with their DLC and update kind of policy. So there you have it, guys. There's my personal opinion, my personal look on Battlefield 1. Just kind of a synopsis. The good, you know, obviously the visual and the audio and just the brandness of this game, I think, is where it really shines. The story mode, I think, was a very, very refreshing, very kind of out of the blue thing for these big people to do, and I find it really amazing. The contrast to that is I feel that hard to level up is a very big turnoff, and just kind of a lack of different options for a more casual base. And this could be argued that it's not necessarily a casual game, but that is up for interpretation of the person. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, because this is very much just my personal opinion. And if you guys say something and I go, oh, that's, you know, a good point, I will definitely let you guys know, and I definitely will comment. I am not a closed-minded person. So yeah, just keep the comments rolling in, or hit me up on Twitter or Facebook or any of that. Also, let me know how you feel about this new recording style and this editing style, and what you guys think personally. If you like this better, if you want me to go back to my original thing of doing it in-game with a lot less cutting and refixing and things that I can do, which just means I can get videos out a lot quicker, because it's obviously a less production. This video is already taken a day or two, but I want to get it out tonight, so hopefully it's still out when the world's still going, because today is voting day, and God help us, Battlefield 1 may be the new reality we live in. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the box or any of the social medias. And as always, have a great one.